It's my buddy Blair. Look at that. He's helping us out. Going to show you some stuff to do with the posterior shoulders. We've been surfing a lot lately, so it takes a lot of wear and tear on all the scapular muscles. If you spend some focused time, 10 minutes, maybe even longer, you can do with yourself a lot of good. Blair, face away for me, please. These are all the scapular retractor muscles, scapular stabilizers. Pull your shoulders back for me. Flex them. Flex them. See all this tension we've got drawn on here? All the muscles, the scapula, go ahead and relax. Paddling, this stuff gets used a lot, okay? These muscles attached to the scapula, these triangle patterns here, is your shoulder blade, your scapula. Your scapula makes half of the shoulder joint. It's got the glenoid fossa, and the head of the humerus, the arm bone, sits in that fossa. The rotator cuff holds that humeral head in there. These muscles, if they're overly spasmed, tight, whatever the case may be, can change the way the scapula can move, changing the way the shoulder moves. So we just want to make sure this stuff feels good, can move efficiently. So here we're going to go, right? So shoulder blades. Over here you've got the upper trapezius muscle coming from the scapula, the spine of the scapula, to attaching into a big tendon up here. Mid trap, low trap. Dots running down the back are his spine. Here you've got the rhomboid, the levator scap, the posterior deltoid, and over here the posterior rotator cuff. This is the infraspinatus, and that dark bit is the teres minor. That stuff isn't hugely important. You don't need to know names, but to do this really effectively, you do need to know how to kind of effectively stretch it. Because what we're going to do with this tennis ball is just rub stuff out. Lacrosse ball or tennis ball. Start with a tennis ball. Work up to a lacrosse ball over time. You need to know the actions, because we're going to just rub stuff out. That's going to help. But to really do this efficiently, we need to go through range of motion. And if you know the way a muscle moves, then you can go through that range of motion a bit more efficiently. So, easy way to start, from the base of the neck to mid-back, anything through there, you can rub with a tennis ball, okay? So, here's the scapula. If you find the spine of the scapula, or I'm sorry, the edge of the scapula, anything between the spine, the actual vertebral column, and that edge of the scapula, that's going to be a lot of rhomboid. Anything between there, you can rub out and spend some time. Reach this arm, cross your chest. See how that just stretched out the rhomboid? So now he's opened up all that tissue even more so to really get in there. And you're hitting spinal erector muscles as well, but you know, and you're hitting the mid-trap. Go ahead and relax there. So rub that stuff out. Spend some time moving around, and then he'd do the same thing. He's up against the wall, kind of bare rubbing it, or he's on the floor. Spend a little bit of time, and then he'd take that arm across. Go ahead and take that arm across again. Sorry, this one again. It's opened up, and then he's going to get into that tissue again. Go ahead and relax. Trigger points. Trigger points are this muscular phenomenon kind of thing that can send pain to other parts of the body. Rhomboids, like there might be a point here that sends pain all through this area. If you're finding a trigger point, you just need to put some light pressure on it, hold it for about 10 seconds, release, repeat, and still that pain referral until that pain referral starts to dissipate. When you're rubbing this stuff out, go slow. Slow. So again, he might take 3 to 4 minutes just working in this rhomboid area. And he's also getting low trap, mid trap, probably some upper trap. But the key is for that rhomboid area and for the mid trap area is that he's compressing all the way up to the edge of that scapula. And then he's also taking that arm and pulling it across, rubbing, bring it back down, pull it across. So what we're doing now is pin and stretching tissue. We're pinning it, and then we're kind of stretching it, and he's rubbing out. We're pinning it with the ball up against the wall, stretching it. So when you're hitting rhomboid, you're hitting mid to low trap as well. Upper trap. He's going to reach across his body, and he's going to hold that ball, and he's going to compress it. Step over here for him just a little. Yeah. A little more. Yeah, cool. He's just going to compress it anywhere into that neck tissue, and just kind of rub it and hold. And he'd be getting upper trap, and he'd also be getting levator scapula. What you're going to find is that the edge, the superior angle of this shoulder blade, the scapula, There's a lot of tendon connection from levator scap, rhomboid, mid, upper trap. This is going to be pretty gnarly usually. So he can just rub that stuff out up against the wall if he can angle it, or he would just compress into the tissue. To get the pin and stretching motion, this upper trap, if you look at the lines of muscle fiber, if it contracts, it essentially pulls this way. So for him to stretch it, he'd put pressure down, and then he'd stretch the neck away, he'd hold for a breath or two, come back, he'd find another kind of tender spot, put some pressure, stretch away, and you'd be repeating all through that upper trap. Pretty much the same with that levator scap, but if we're really gonna, it's levator scapula. If we're really gonna pinpoint that, go ahead and reach up and across. Other arm, sorry. Grab that ball. He'd pin that tissue, he'd start to look, and then look down. He'd pin that tissue, look up, look down. Good, relax. So essentially you can just think, find some pressure, rub stuff out, and then start to incorporate some movement where you're kind of stretching the tissue that you're compressing into. That makes perfect sense. Cool? Posterior deltoid controls the humerus. It's one of these big paddling muscles. On the floor, up against the wall, you kind of angle up into it, and anything through the back of that shoulder. If you really compress through it, you're going to start hitting the rotator cuff, which is fine. Really rub through it. To pin and stretch that, he'd be up against the wall, put some pressure, then he would reach this arm forward and across. Find some pressure, find a good spot, reach, pin, stretch. Cool? Switch sides with you. Last little bit is just posterior rotator cuff. Teres minor, infraspinatus. These two muscles can send trigger point referral all over the arm. Down the arm, front of the shoulder. Upper trap, if you're going through this and you're getting pain up through the head around the ear, that's the upper trap pain referral. Levator scap can go anywhere up and can even come down. So again, if you're finding a trigger point, just compress into it, hold for a few seconds, release, compress into it, hold for a few seconds, release, see if that pain pattern starts to reduce. Don't be too aggressive. Similar pattern, right? It's easy. Just compress, slow pressure through that rotator cuff. He might have to angle a bit more to get into like kind of the crease of that armpit. If he's just flat back up against the wall, it might not work. He might need to angle himself, compressing in through there. To pin and stretch this, he puts some pressure, and then he's going to externally rotate the arm, internally. So the rotator cuff is an external rotator, or the posterior cuff is an external rotator. So it's pin and stretching. So again, anything through there, spend some time rubbing stuff out, find some trigger points, find some dense stuff. The whole back, you could do in about 10 minutes, maybe even longer if you want to. 5 minutes on this side, 5 minutes on this side. Spend some time. You might be paddling 2-3 hours in a session. Spend 5 or 10 minutes getting all this stuff to feel good. Go ahead and relax. Yeah, stretch your arms across in front of your body. Everything's long, loose, relaxed. When we're paddling, go ahead and tense the back. It's all tense, tight. That stuff gets beat up. It changes the way the shoulder moves. Go ahead and relax. Slow. Just go slow. Everything through here. Simple. If you got questions, ask them.